All right, today we're going to take the ISX block that's right here. So we pulled the crank, the caps are off. We actually threw the caps away for this one. But we're just going to wash the block up. We're going to do an inspection on the top there, just on the deck. So what we're going to do is actually get this block into this parts washer, give it a wash, blow it out, and show you how to do that well. All right, to do that, we're going to need some gear. So obviously we're going to need a parts washer. Pretty important that if you're going to use your parts washer, you actually turn it on, let it get hot, make sure it's got water in it, make sure it's got the right soap. So we use an aqueous or a water-based parts washer, but there's other ones as well. So make sure it's on, make sure it's warmed up. Then we need the proper lifting gear to be able to lift our components. So we're going to use a crane in this case. We need a shop towel so that we can cover up the holes as we blow them out. We're going to need a little bit of spray lubricant after we're done. Otherwise, what will happen on this cast block, since we're using a water-based parts washer, we're actually going to create a lot of rust. So we're going to just give a quick spray down with some lubricant after we're done. And then we also need a blowgun. So the blowgun is going to be there for us to blow this out. Because we're using a blowgun, we also need to make sure, and we're using a parts washer, need to make sure we're wearing our PPE, our gloves, some earplugs, as it's going to get really loud to blow out the component, and then also a face shield and our safety glasses. So always best, since you're using compressed air to blow the part off, that you use redundant safety devices. So what we're going to do first, we're going to use the crane. Of course, we've done our daily inspection for the day, followed all of our occupational health and safety guidelines for crane and rigging, and we're going to turn on the crane and get ready to lift this up. We're at the same time going to open up the door to the parts washer, and we're going to lift this block and we're going to get it put into the parts washer. So let's do that. So we're going to lift up the block. And in this case, we are going to have to roll this block in to make sure we can fit it around the door. So we're just going to move correct direction, make sure we rotate the block to clear the door. Catch everything that fell is the fact that the camera is attached to the computer and to the block, so that's always fun. We'll get to edit that out after. It's always good to make sure you measured ahead of time to ensure that your component is going to fit in your parts washer. That becomes very important. Otherwise, you get halfway through the job and you realize your component's not going to fit. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep going. So now we see we've got the block in the door. We're just getting it put down onto the rack to make sure that it's going to fit in there and get all washed up. I realized all you were seeing was the roof. There we go. At this point, we can get our rigging off. Move it out of the way. And we see that our block is now sitting inside our parts washer. So now the block's in the parts washer. We see that it's going to clear on the height. It's going to clear on the wall as it rotates. And so now this is going to basically be an oversized or an industrial dishwasher. All right. So we're going to close the door. Make sure the door closes well. If you were using a sling, a synthetic sling to do any lifting, you would make sure you didn't send the sling through in the parts washer. I'm going to leave the lifting links on there as I feel like they can go through and get a wash without any problems. All right, so we make sure we lock the door. Always got to lock the door. And then on the side of this parts washer, we've got a timer right up here. So we're going to basically just use it. Probably about a 20-minute wash will be enough. So we'll let it run for 20 minutes. There's another piece of this parts washer, and many parts washers have something like this. And that's a skimmer right here. So this skimmer wheel, when we actually turn it on, what you see is that it rotates this piece of steel through the water, through the cleaning fluid, and it works to wick off any of the oil contamination, all the oil that's getting pulled off of the cylinder blocks or the components that you're washing. It accumulates in the fluid, and so then this skimmer is a method to just sort of take that out of the fluid as best as we can. And so it'll pick up that oily residue and it'll put it on the wheel, scrape it off on the other side, and dump it into a pail. So you make sure you turn the skimmer on as you're working your parts washer. So we got the skimmer, we've got a timer, we make sure the door is locked, we make sure that the washer was turned on and up to operating temperature when we get going. That way it's going to be able to cut through that grease well. And we're just going to turn on our timer for 20 minutes. At this point, that block is now just going to rotate inside the cabinet until it gets clean. So the jets are coming at it from the side, they're coming at it from the top and the bottom, and it really is just like a giant dishwasher. So we're going to give this a 20-minute wait, and then we're going to check it and blow it out and wash whatever we need to, see if it needs another run.